From luxury cars to cursed diamonds. Hey, it's Chris. Join me as I show you 8 of the most expensive things on Earth. Number 8. Parking spot in Manhattan. If you drive to work or have to go into any big city, you know that parking can be a huge problem. Most places in the US, at least, will have plenty of parking available, and then, when you come home, you have a parking spot waiting for you at your house. But in New York, especially in Manhattan, that often isn't an option. New York City is a whole other ballgame. If you want to park, you either have to buy or rent a parking space. And that can be super expensive. How much we talking? Well, it depends on where you are in the city and within Manhattan. Back in 2007, the average price of a parking spot to own, for as long as you were there, was about $225,000. But since then, there have been multiple hikes in the price, to the extent that you can pay up to $1 million in parking spaces. To be fair, these are next to certain high-priced areas like 42 Crosby Street, and because of this, there's a lot of demand for the spot, and when there's a lot of demand, the price goes up. That's why many New Yorkers don't have cars and use public transportation instead. Number 7. 1962 GTO Ferrari. In terms of the most expensive car ever sold at an auction, that would go to the 1962 GTO Ferrari that was sold at RM Sotheby's on Saturday night as part of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. For the record, this was an auction that was flooded with top niche cars and rides, and yet this GTO Ferrari came out on top when it sold for $48.4 million, making it officially the most expensive car ever sold at auction. Now you might wonder, what makes this particular Ferrari so special? And the answer is simple: rarity. This very special Ferrari was only made by the company 36 times and was mainly a racing car. Over the years, the number of well-kept ones dropped, making any chance to get this car a must-have among car collectors. In fact, some even refer to this car as the holy grail of cars. This particular GTO Ferrari was the third to come off the line, and it had most of its original parts, which is extremely rare for this vehicle. It was sold by Greg Whitten, the former executive at Microsoft, believe it or not. Another reason this car sold for so much was that it was considered one of the most beautiful and elegant cars ever made, which does say a lot about this car, given it was made over 66 years ago. Number 6. The human body. Now, this is not meant to gross you out, but rather to put an interesting notion in your head. We've all heard phrases or sayings about your worth, but the question is one that is valid. How much are we worth? You can't simply say that every life is infinitely valuable, said John Mueller, a political scientist at Ohio State University whose work focuses on national security and risk analysis. That's just not the way the world operates. True, that's not how the world works, but it's still one that needs an answer. If you watch TV or movies, you'll have heard about the black market and their desire to get fresh body parts for various means. They pay good money to get those parts. But keeping it legal, if a person was to sell themselves, what kind of money would they be worth? According to an article from Wired magazine, the cost would be about $45 million. And to be clear, that's for everything that the human body has to offer. Not just your organs and your skin or your eyes, but your blood, your bone marrow, which is extremely valuable, on your very DNA, and everything in between. Of course, there are those who would factor in the life of a person being sold and would have the price go up even higher. But in terms of just components and parts, every person has a value, and it turns out it's a very high one. Number 5. Hope Diamond. The Hope Diamond is an incredibly valuable jewel, particularly because it's a rare blue diamond, measured to be 45.52 carats. So when you do the math, its worth is approximately $350 million just based on the diamond's value alone. But while it is valuable, the curse of the object is arguably what people associate it with most. Its origins can be traced to a temple in India. A Hindu priest there stole the gem and later died. Eventually, the gem was found and made its way to Europe in 1642. There it was bought by a French merchant who would eventually sell it to King Louis XIV. That merchant also died. King Louis and his wife were killed, and it later passed on from person to person, including a potential encounter with a British king whose family had to sell the diamond to pay off his massive debts, proving that the diamond would ruin you as much as it would kill you. Eventually, it wound up in the hands of a man named Henry Thomas Hope, which is the person the diamond was eventually named after. Several owners followed after him, and more tales of death, insanity, and poverty came. That is, until the last owner of the Hope Diamond was wise enough to donate it to the Smithsonian in 1958, and it's still there to this day, so the curse is over. I did mention the price of the diamond as it stands. There are those who would argue that the legend and curse of the diamond actually make it all the more valuable, so it could actually be worth more than $350 million, if you were willing to take a chance on it, of course. Number 4. Kohinoor Diamond. The Kohinoor is not only one of the most valuable diamonds in the world, it's one that arguably can't have a price put on it. Part of which is because of the controversy that continues to surround it to this day. The Kohinoor originated in India, or it's mostly agreed upon that it was mined there. It then disappeared until 1526, when the Mongols revealed that they had it. In its raw form, the diamond was around 793 carats. It was then carved and refined by the Mongols until it was 186 carats. Seems wasteful. In 1830, the ruler of India got the diamond back for his country. But when the British took over India, it's said that the Kohinoor was given to the Queen, who was Victoria at the time, and it was a gift as part of the last Treaty of Lahore. But others feel that it was stolen during their reign. It's actually a very contested debate to this day. Both India and Pakistan have said that they have claim to the gem, but England has refused to give it up, and it's not hard to see why, as the Kohinoor diamond was eventually put on the crown of the Queen, making its importance to the country very clear. Because of its attachment to the crown and the fact that it's never formally been appraised, since it was later cut again by Prince Albert into the diamond we now know, the price, as noted, varies depending on who you talk to. Some say it's worth around $200 million, but then there are those who think $1 billion is a more fair estimate. If the crown is included in the value, then the price is thought to go up to the tens of billions of dollars. But then you have to figure in the history, who wore the crown, and more. So it's almost accurate to say that this one diamond and headset is truly priceless. Potentially. Number 3. History Supreme Yacht. How would you like to own a yacht? Now picture yourself owning a yacht that's made of gold. The History Supreme is one such yacht, and it costs a pretty penny to be made, too. It cost £3.1 billion, which would have been around $4.1 billion by today's exchange rates. The History Supreme is indeed the most expensive yacht in the world, or ever made. The yacht itself is 100 feet long, and it took over 3 years to make it. Over 22,000 pounds of gold and platinum were used to make the yacht. As for where you can find the gold on the boat, well, it's actually the hull, and you'll find it in the dining room area, the staircase, and it even comprised the anchor of the yacht. Furthermore, in the master suite, there's an aquarium that's also adorned with gold. This yacht was made to be rich and elegant in every sense of the words, and it even has a statue on the boat made of T-Rex bones, a liquor bottle with a massive diamond, and more. So if you're looking for an expensive high-class yacht to own, you honestly can't do better than the History Supreme. Number 2. Dallas Cowboys. Who doesn't love sports? And in the United States of America, football is king undisputed. The sport brings in hundreds of millions of viewers each season and sets records when the Super Bowl is watched most times. But in terms of the franchises that help make up the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys are the team that is worth the most. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, is sitting on a franchise that Forbes details as worth $4.8 billion as of 2018. In case you're curious, the English football franchise Manchester United is just behind it with $4.123 billion in worth. And just to clarify, Man U doesn't play American football like the Cowboys. They play soccer. Soccer is called football all over the world except in North America, where we like to keep things just a little confusing. But why are the Dallas Cowboys so valuable? It's because of the brand name recognition. While the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since the 90s when Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and Deion Sanders were there, they're still considered America's team. And many people root for them every single year. Then there's the name Dallas Cowboys. It invokes certain memories and feelings about the past of the NFL where the Cowboys were one of the top dogs. Then there's the marketing. There's a show about how ladies become the Cowboys cheerleaders, the most famous cheerleaders in the world. Then there's the stadium Jerry World, where over 100,000 people can watch the Cowboys play. Add that to TV deals, commercials, and more, and it all adds up to the most expensive sports franchise in the world. Number 1. Abraj Al Bait, Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Now, technically speaking, the Abraj Al Bait is not a singular building. It's a set of buildings that comprise one building. And it is without a doubt the most expensive building in the world today. And by extension, it's the most expensive thing in the world today that's not a human, coming in at about $15 billion in terms of cost. And that was just for the building. The building itself was made as part of the King Abdulaziz Endowment Project. This project was started to help modernize Saudi Arabia in numerous ways, and through that help the people who come to the nation. With Abraj Al Bait, it was made to actually house people who would venture to Mecca every year on pilgrimage. Through this, it would bring not only more people, but more revenue and eyes to the country. The main building is a hotel, one that can house many people, but it also has a clock tower that is actually one of the biggest and tallest ones in the world, as the clock is 1,300 feet from the ground. Just as important, though, is the location. As stated, this complex was made to help those on pilgrimage. To that end, it was built right next to Masjid al-Haram, which is the most sacred religious spot in all of Saudi Arabia. Well, thanks for watching. What did you think about these expensive things? Which one's your favorite? Kind of like my human body. Do you know some other very expensive things? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.